You ever wonder what your personality says about you and how you interact with your environment? Well, join me, Marissa, each week as we dive deep into the Enneagrams and its 9 different personality types. So, let's get personal. Hello and welcome to Let's Get Personal. I'm Marissa, and today we're going to talk about type 3s. They're a good type. I know a couple of type 3s. So type 3s are known as the achievers. They can also be called the performers. They are the success-oriented, adaptable, excelling, driven, and image-conscious ones. They're the kind of people who you would look at and you would want to be. They strive on being who people look up to and who people are like, oh yeah, they're a really good role model. They're also like self-assuring and they're charming. They're those kind of people. They're also ambitious and competent and energetic. But their basic fear, we'll just dive into the basic fears of type 3. The basic fear of type 3 is of being worthless. They don't want anyone to be like, oh, they're not doing anything, or oh, what they're doing is not good enough. Their basic desire is to feel valuable or worthwhile. They can be considered categorized as the stars of the human race. People who a lot of celebrities are like singers and actors are type 3s because they're the most personable. They're the people who have really good personalities that people can relate to. So like Madonna's one, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Oprah's a type 3. There's people that you look. Justin Bieber is a type 3 also. They really enjoy when people look up to them. They strive to be that perfection, which is different than type 1 because type 1s like to be perfect. Type 3s like to be perfect in the eyes of everybody. Not necessarily perfect, but really good and really achieving so much. And they like to be the ones who achieve a lot at a younger age. And they really like to-do lists. I have a friend who's a type 3, and it was killing her because of the pandemic, and she just graduated college. And she can't do much because she's stuck in like this, because she wants to go into the film industry and they're not hiring new people. So she's stuck in this like limbo year. And she was talking to me and she was like, it's killing me because I don't have a plan and I don't know what I'm doing. And they really like when they have something to do, when they can check a box off, be like, oh, I had to do this, this, and this, and I did all of it. They strive. They're usually popular among their peers. They're the people who are voted class president, homecoming queen, homecoming king, but people that everybody kind of knows. They take themselves out, and they're not different than type 4, because type 4s like to be individualists. Type 3s like to be individualists but known. So they don't mind if they're like other people. They just want to be kind of the best out of everybody. Yeah. They want to make sure their lives are successful. They often, depending on how they're raised, type 3s are raised, they'll go into fields based off of what like their family or their culture or their religion kind of pushes them to do, because then they can be like looked up to in that. So a lot of people who are raised in very religious households will become like religious leaders if they're type 3s, because then everyone will be like proud of them, and they really just want everyone to be proud of them, and they want to be successful. They want praise. They want praise, and they want positive attention, which is good. Like, they are type 3s are the kind of people that you'll go to, and they will get something done. They won't dilly-dally. They will be like, okay, we're going to do this, and we'll get it done, and then good. They're very good. They're, I guess you say, the basic type A personalities, the ones who want to do it all. they're afraid of disappearing. Type 3s are afraid that if they don't do something, they'll just kind of disappear into the background. They like to be forthcoming and like, oh, you remember me, don't. They like to be the ones who like to have, they like to be, so even if they're not part of something right now, they like to be the one who are remembered. So even if they've left something, or they're no longer in a club or in a group of friends, they still want to be remembered, and they'll still like stick around, or they'll like be like, oh, what can I teach you? How can I be a leader in this group, even though I'm not like in this group anymore? Okay, let's do. Okay, so the situation that's different between type 3s, specifically type 3's image. Their image and what they see themselves as is very important, and what others see themselves as. For type 1s, they're very much, how can I see myself? Type 3s are very, how does everyone else see me? They wouldn't do anything that would sully everybody else's view of them. So if they're going to go out and be like, oh, I'm not going to do this thing because other people might look at me and be like, oh, I don't like the way that they do this, type 3s won't do it. They really pride themselves on having a good image and being that good person that everyone can look up to, and are very upset with themselves if they don't have this image that everyone's proud of. But they push themselves to do things that will make others impressed with them. So sometimes if you're type 3, you won't really like be into something. It won't be something that you're like, oh, I really want to do this. But if somebody else will look at you and be like, oh my gosh, I'm impressed, they'll do it. Lots of leaders. They're very much people who tend to lead and then have everyone follow. A lot of people who are like presidents of clubs. Politicians are a lot of type 3s because the performer, they're putting on not this act in a way, they're putting on they're showing all the good sides of themselves, and they do hide kind of the bad things. Type 3s are not the kind of people who you would necessarily have a deep conversation about failures. If you were trying to talk to them about like if you were doing bad or if you were failing at something, they're not the people that would open up about their failures because they see that as weakness. To them, failure is weakness. People don't look good up upon failures. They don't want to do that. So they're not bad at opening up about emotions. They will open up about their emotions. They are more out of touch with their emotions than other groups and other types, because they're also the kind of people who will tend to alienate themselves. They can, at a point, a really unhealthy 3 can alienate themselves from, they can become so alienated from themselves that they no longer know what they want and only what other people want, because they strive to make not strive to make other people happy, because 2s strive to help and make other people happy and help them. Type 3s will be like, okay, I don't really want to be in student council, but if everyone's going to look at me and be like, oh, they're in student council, they're really good, they're going to go be on student council because it's what other people not want, but like will give them that thing. They very much believe in themselves. They are the people who believe in themselves. They can do anything. Type 3s can literally do anything that they put their mind to. They are very driven. They say, I'm going to do this. They will achieve it. In a timely manner. I'm a wing 3, so I could definitely see myself in some of these, but because I'm a wing, I'm not everything. I'm not everything of a 3, but I'm a little bit. Yet again, they care about how others view them. They will not do something risky. if their image is on the line. They do sometimes bottle their emotions. They bottle their emotions to a point when sometimes they just kind of burst slowly. So, I know I do too. You'll pretend something doesn't exist. This may just be an anxiety thing, I'm not sure, but also really fits into type 3s is if something's going wrong, they will pretend it doesn't exist because then they'll forget about it because it won't be affecting them if they're like, oh, it's not real. I'm not struggling with this thing. I don't have this thing to do. But then it gets to the point that then they all get all bottled up and everything's like, crumbles and falls. So the good jobs for type 3s. Type 3s, very personable, very easy, not easy to talk to, but they're the people you want to talk to. They are very intuitive also. So good jobs for type 3s would be like attorney or an agent, executive, coach, news journalist, actors, or producers, because they're very also good at talking to other people. Type 3s very good at talking to other people. They have very good traits like public speaking, very good at public speaking. They tend to take, even if they're not good at public speaking, they're at least good at coming up with things to say. They don't overthink things. Like type 5s overthink things. Type 3s don't overthink things, but they do think, how will this affect me? Not in the like, I'm going to think of every possible outcome. That's a very type 5 issue, is where you think of every possible outcome and how something's going to go before they do anything. But type 3s will think of like, what's the best option really fast. They can do it. They're like, what's the best option? What's the best thing to say? And then they say it. Type 3s also take a while, I feel, to get to know type 3s. They're not closed off, but they're closed off in what they let you see. A lot of these types also don't let you see a lot. But in a way, they don't want you to think negatively of them. That's their biggest thing. Image conscious. No. They also have problems with workaholism and competitiveness. They like to be the best. I have a friend who's a type 3 who, there's nothing, like, this is unprompted, but he's like, I can run really fast on all fours. I'm calling him out. I'm not going to say his name. Sorry. He can run really fast on all fours. It's interesting. But he's like, I'm a couple seconds off from the world record, so I'm going to work out my leg muscles, calves, thighs. I don't sport, so can't tell you. And he's like, I'm going to beat the world record. Nobody prompted him to do this. I don't believe anyone said, oh, you should beat the world record for fastest running on all fours. But he's like, I'm competitive. I can do it. Very type 3 personality where they got to be the best. Because if they're the best, no one can say, you're not knowing this. Different. Type 1s, the professionals. Type 1s are the ones who want to know all of the knowledge about something so nobody can correct them and be like, oh, you were wrong about this. That's a type 1. Type 3s like to have just to be the best in something so no one can say, oh, you're not the best, or, oh, someone's better than you. No, type 1's not professional, but so type 3 wing 2 is the charmer. They're very personable. They're the people who, the two friends that I have, one of them's a type 3 wing 2, one of them's a type 3 wing 4. So they have the same kind of base traits, but they are very different. Because type 2s are like the mom friends, the parent friends, the ones who want everyone to like look up to them for help. Type 3 wing 2s have that, I want to be the best, but I also want to be the person that comes and they help you. Like, wing 2s have a harder time controlling their emotions. they can also be called the charmer or the enchanter. And their basic fears, they're afraid of falling and being unworthy of love. Failing and being unworthy of love. Because they strive on love. 2 is very much on love, and how people will view them, but in a love way and like a personal way, not an achievement way. So type 3-wing 2s are very much like, how are these people view me in an achievement way, but also I want them to love me for like it. They're the encouraging friends. Type 2-wing 3-wing 2s are the ones who will also encourage you a lot, because type 3s find enjoyment in their achievements. Type 3-wing 2s find enjoyments also in other people's achievements. So if you're going to do something really good, if you're going to like get a promotion or like achieve something you've been wanting to do for a while, type 3-wing 2s will help you actually get there. They're very good. If you want to get somewhere, go to a type 3-wing 2 or just a type 3 in general, because they will help you. They will make plans for you. They will say, here's a to-do list. Very good at that. But type 3-wing 2s are very focused on social appearance. They want to be viewed well in public. Let's see. 3-wing 4s are called, they're the professionals. They are the people who are more like political leaders or religious leaders or like lawyers or attorneys, people who have, I guess you could say those people who wear like the suits, the people who dress really professional, and they do. People who are type 3-wing 4s, and just 3s in general, will dress fancy just in general. Like they'll be going anywhere and they'll dress kind of professional, and they pride themselves in dressing nicely for no reason. Again, keep in mind some of this may not relate to everybody who's a type 3, but in a general aspect, yeah. Type 3-wing 4s value what other people see in them, and they want to be seen as unique. Because type 4 is the individualist. So type 4 is the individualist, and they want to be seen as like the only person who's like this. Type 3-wing 4s, because they have that individualist things, they like to be seen as the best of it. So because type 4 is the individualist, type 3s are the achiever. I have a friend who was like the leader of this club I was in, who was the president. And so if I were to like someone to come in and be like, no, I'm a better president, or not, especially in that, say you have different personality traits, like personality aspects of you, that things that like you enjoy. Because I really like Disney. If someone were to come in, I'm not a really type 3, but if I was a type 3-wing 4 and someone were to come in and say, oh, well, I know more about Disney than you do, or I like Disney more than you do, a type 3-wing 4 would get very attacked. They would be like, no, I'm that person. I'm the Disney person. Like, I'm the funny one. You can't be the funny one. I'm the funny one. And they get really offended if somebody's like, no, I'm this one now. And they won't be like, oh, we can't be nice to them, because type 3-wing 4s are very professional, and they're very, they want to be seen as good, so they don't want to be like, I hate this person, because then, people will be like, wow, how did they not like them? So type 3-wing 4s will be like, oh, we'll be nice to you, but you can't like them more than me. If you like this person who's like exactly like me, you can't like them more than me. They will feel attacked if somebody says, oh, I'm basically the same personality traits as you. Also, type 3-wing 4s like to teach people. As they say, they still like to be relevant. If they were to like leave a club, they would like be like, oh, I'm going to help everyone else in the club because I still want to be relevant. I'm going to like train them, or I'm going to be a part, because they don't want to be forgotten. Their fear is that they'll be forgotten, so they train somebody to be under them, so they can be like, oh, they were trained by this person, and then they won't be forgotten, because everyone will be like, when they think of that person, they'll also think of the type 3-wing 4s. Type 3-wing 4s, they want to be the most successful. They're great friends. They're all the types are very great friends. Like, nobody in the type is bad necessarily. Some people have more issues to work on, but every single type has its own issues and its own positives and negatives. Type 3s need to kind of take more time for themselves. They need to be like, oh, nobody's judging me. That's hard. Type 3s really cannot take days off. They do not like lazy days. They find that as being really bad. Being lazy is bad, not good. I guess some of the main traits of people in the type 3s. Rachel Berry from Glee. If anyone's watched Glee, I didn't, but I know a lot about Rachel Berry, where she's like, I'm unique, I'm the best. Nobody else is good as me. She doesn't have a lot of the good traits of a type 3. Type 3s have good traits too. I just feel like Rachel Berry impersonates everything that's like bad of a type 3, where they're like, I'm the best. No one else can be me. I was born to be a star. Thor is also a type 3. Has this whole conversation. People think Iron Man's a type 3. As my friend was talking to me yesterday, we're not so sure Iron Man's a type 3. We think Iron Man's a type 7 because type 3s take not consequences for their action, acknowledge what they do, like, wrong, but type 3s will be like, oh, I failed. I did this wrong. Where type 7s, which Iron Man will be like, he'll do something that's, like, bad. And he'll be like, oh, it happened. I guess. Whoops. We call Thor is a type 3 specifically when in Infinity War, when he missed killing Thanos, he's very hard on himself. And, he lets himself go. And he's like, oh, I failed. I should have done it. They're very into their achievements. They pride their titles very much. Like, Thor talks about himself as Thor, I forgot, it's like God of Asgard. Instead of just saying, like, I'm like Thor and then saying the first person pronouns, he's like, Thor, mighty Thor, God. I don't know what else he says, but they pride themselves on their achievements and they like to have all these achievements. They're also the people who will be like, I won a trophy, and then really put their trophies on display or make scrapbooks of all their achievements and then show people them or have them up around their house and everyone likes to showcase their achievements, but type 3s are the people who will showcase their achievements. They'll put up their trophies and they'll be like, oh, here's my diploma. Everyone likes to hang up the diploma, but type 3s are going to put it somewhere that people will see them. Type 3s like to put stuff that people will be like, oh, you did this, where they can be seen. So people ask them about that, so they can talk to them about it. Yes. Let's see. What did I write? They enjoy motivating others to greater personal achievements. I talked about that. They're the successful and well-liked people. They're very much well-liked because type 3s don't like it when people don't like them. Yet again, also type 2s don't like it when people don't like them. Type 3s don't like when people don't like them in a way that they might talk about them and then sully their image in other people's minds. So if I were to talk bad about a type 3 to someone else, and then that person who's never met this type 3 before had a bad impression, that's the word, impression of a type 3, even though, type 3 may never find out, but if a type 3 person found out that someone had a bad impression of them, they would be very upset because they strive to be not. They thrive on attention, encouragement, and affirmation from others. So if you know people who are type 3s, tell them you're proud of them. Ask them about their achievements because they like to talk about themselves, but not as much as type 7s. Type 7s will talk about themselves for hours. Type 3s like to talk about not themselves, but their achievements. So a lot of the time, what type 3s do like in sports, or a lot of athletes are also type 3. But what type 3s will do in sports and in their personal achievements become a personality trait. Because what they can achieve in that is like, oh, well, I'm on the football team, and yet again, I don't know much about football players. I don't know if it becomes a personality trait, but sometimes if they're like on a team, it will become a personality trait of them, because they're like, I did this, and this is what happened here, and this is what I've achieved here, and they like to talk to your friends who are type 3s about their achievements. They like to talk about it. It makes them feel good, and sometimes you get fun stories. Then that's really all I have about type 3s. Join us next week. We're going to talk about type 4s. They're the individualists, so they're a fun group. But yeah, join me next week. Thank you. You ever wonder what your personality says about you and how you interact with your environment? Well, join me, Marissa, each week as we dive deep into the Enneagrams and its 9 different personality types. So, let's get personal.